G'day YouTube, they've finally arrived. My Hasport engine mounts have come all the way from the States. Just a small update today. We're going to throw them in the car, get everything set up, but we still can't chuck the engine in. I'll explain why after this. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's probably been a while since I've done an update on the CIVIC Kswap turbo build. There's the engine over there, there's the engine bay here, and we've got engine mounts. There's a few really good videos about how to set these up and what bolts go where and all that sort of stuff. So I'd be lying to you if I said I knew where everything goes and how it all goes. It shouldn't be too hard. There's only 3 mounts and there's a million of these online, but I'm gonna check back on a few videos and just see what bolts go where, because nothing's labeled, but you can see the absolute quality of these guys is next level. So this is the back mount, goes over the back of the engine bay there. We'll get that sorted. But I just want to take a second once again to thank AD/Hondi boy down in the comments. This guy hooked a brother up. He actually works for Hasport and he hooked me up. I've got a bunch of their stickers which I'm putting all around the shop, getting them situated everywhere. I've got another one over here on the hoist down there. And I'm just going to slowly plaster my shop with Hasport stickers. I'll get these mounts stuck in the car and then I'll give you an update on why we can't put the engine in yet. Shouldn't be too far away by the time you're seeing this video, but yeah, got to wait for the right parts, the right things. I do have the bottom half of the engine sorted. I've got the K20 oil pump and I've already modified that. So I'll probably do a video on that later on because I've already filmed a bit for it. I still need to work out which valve springs and retainers I'm going to use. If anyone's got any recommendations, let me know. And I'm tracking down a 50-degree VCT gear. So the reason I can't put the oil pump on yet is I'm trying to track down some OE suppliers, some top quality Japanese brands of chains, tensioners, all the OE style parts from Japan. And then I can bring them to you guys as part of my new spool up brand, which will be coming out soon, maybe even by the time you've seen this video. There's that. I don't have a clutch yet. I need some recommendations on the clutch. I'm going to be running the stock flywheel. I don't want to put a lightened flywheel in there, just for keeping the RPMs up and all that sort of stuff. I don't need it to rev out crazy fast. That's what the turbo's there to help with, all the torque and everything, and I want the low down response and I want to keep the revs up. And you only really need a lightened flywheel if you're racing and keeping the car in its top, 2000 RPM at all times. You keep the revs up in between changes, up and down shifts and all that sort of stuff. With street driving duties and track duties, you need the rotational mass to be able to keep the engine spinning when you're going up a hill, or when you're low down in the corners, you keep the engine revs going. When you're off the power and you're trying to negotiate like a chicane or something, and then it's still revving and then you hit it and you go again. Whereas if you had a lightened flywheel and you're sort of backing off, going through some corners, chicanes and whatnot, up and down hills, the engine RPMs will drop way too quickly and then you've got to climb back up there and use all of the torque. Whereas with the big flywheel, rotating mass, it will keep it spinning and going, so you're right there. You won't drop revs so quickly. The other thing I want to look at doing is possibly replacing the turbo. Now there is absolutely nothing wrong with this gem of a turbo, and I've recently seen a similar size turbo on a K24 on only 8 psi, made around 300 kilowatts at the wheels, which is all I'm really chasing. But I have been advised by my friend who has a 1000 horsepower K24 that I need to get a bigger exhaust housing. This one's a 0.82 and I probably want to see if I can get a 1.16 or a 1.06, which will definitely help with the RPM, help with spool up and flow, and it won't choke up the turbo, causing it to run out of puff too early. Because if this isn't flowing, this can't spin any faster. If this can't spin any faster, it can't make any boost over a certain RPM. So for example, the exhaust gas comes out here, goes into here, spins the turbo, everything's all sweet, but it can only flow a certain amount of exhaust gas. So no matter how fast or high the engine's revving, it can only let through a certain amount of traffic or flow through this housing. And then once we get to say 5,000 or 6,000 RPM, this can't flow any more gas through it, which means it's not going to keep spinning the turbo any faster, which means it's not going to make any more boost. So the power curve will start to drop off after a certain RPM, and we don't want that. We still want good response, which is why we don't go for a massive exhaust housing, but we also want linear power all the way up the power curve. So I'll try and get a larger exhaust housing. Might have to go away from max peating rods. I don't really want to, because they've sponsored me this turbo and it's an expense that I can't afford. However, doing things right, keeping this one as sort of a middle of the road build, not going too crazy. I'm not going to go and buy a Precision or a Garrett turbo as much as I would love to. I just don't have that kind of coin, and I don't think it's necessary. Might look at something like a Pulsar turbo, stick that on there with the T51R mod, so it sounds absolutely awesome. So there's a few things I'm playing with. I've got to buy the wastegate, but the main thing that's stopping me from getting it in the car is a clutch and the timing chain, because I want to do both of those things before it goes in. But anyway, I'm going to check back on this YouTube video, which I'll link below, which is a really good one. It shows you where all the mounts go and what bolts to use, how much to torque them to, and all that sort of stuff. The guy's doesn't have many viewers on his channel or many followers, but he's a really knowledgeable guy, so I'll link it below. Check that out. I'll show you once everything's in there. Might even do a time lapse. We'll see how we go. So here I am in the engine bay. Everything's all finished. The mounts and everything are put in. So I'll just show you those. Check out the quality of these Hasport mounts. Made in the USA by my man AD Hondi. Boy, thank you so much, sir. You're a bloody legend. All the best for you and your family, mate, and hopefully we can do more deals together in the future, because we've got plenty more projects happening where this came from. But we've got the 3 bolts there, 1 bolt through the top. You've got to obviously put a couple more bolts in there, which I have as well. We've got the rear mount on. There's the gearbox bracket, nice and solid. And then we also have the other gearbox bracket. So that's the rear engine mount, and that's the gearbox bracket there. I love how good that yellow looks through that H logo. So awesome. We've got the fuel lines all tidied up now. So that's where my in and out are going to be, -6 lines. Brake line's done. The shifter cables are done. Clutch cable is done. Power steering lines are ready to go. Intercooler's in and mounted. Got my cool little JDM things, but yeah, we are getting there. We just need I just need a clutch, machine my flywheel, clutch, timing chain, VCT gear, and then some valve springs and retainers, and we're good to go. But until next time, coming to you live from the engine bay of my Kswap build. Don't forget to spool up, bring the boost, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.